Hello everybody out there and welcome to episode 301 of the Dark Avenger Comic Book Review.
Yep.
As you guys know, we did make lots of announcements, one being that the comic reviews were going to be changing. For right now though, the indie review is immune and we are finishing out the summer, so we decided to go an extra couple of weeks with the old format. But as the weeks move forward, or as the weeks come up, in the next couple of weeks, you guys will be gradually seeing the new format working its way into this channel, and then by probably this time next month, give or take a week, it'll be in full effect when it comes to the comic reviews. Other new things will be coming up starting September, so I hope you guys are ready for that. But for right now, we're still on the old format. We do have a bit of a change in the background. Sentinel is holding something new. We got a new setup at the top shelf, which I like that. That's the ever-changing shelf in my opinion. Yeah. And yeah, so with a little bit of a new background for now, when the recap happens, which will be a completely new show, there'll be probably a bigger change in the background. But for right now, we got books to talk about. And the books in this review were released on
August 5th, 2015, the first week of August.
And for the first week of August, and for the first time in a very long time, only one DC comic book. Only one. Now, you could say that Gods and Monsters Wonder Woman came out this week, because it did. I will not be reviewing it here. I will be reviewing Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman in their own World's Finest review, so technically that will be the first World's Finest review. But for this review, we have Green Lantern issue number 43, the only DC comic book you'll be seeing in this review. Hal wants to know what is causing these worlds to turn to stone. And he noticed that the world that turned to stone was very much like the Source Wall. So who does he go to? The person you see in this picture. He goes to Relic. But now he can't go to Relic with his Gauntlet. So he hides. Now Relic doesn't really know Hal Jordan personally. So without the Gauntlet and his ring, Hal Jordan looks like just another person to Relic. So he goes to Relic. And basically, he's trying to figure out what could be the cause of the planets turning into stone, like the Source Wall. And we also find out that there's a fissure or a break in the Source Wall. And Relic did mention one thing other than himself did escape the Source Wall, and it was Black Hand. There's a lot of dialogue in this book. You're going to have to read it for yourself. But Hal Jordan realizes, oh crap, not him. And you have Virgo, who is, he doesn't trust that, he wants to protect Hal, he wants to make sure Hal is safe. So Hal has to go without the Gauntlet to Relic, because if Relic detects the light, he's going to think that there's a problem, and or he hates the light wielders. He takes them as enemies. So Virgo puts the Gauntlet on just in case things go bad. Relic detects the abnormality in the ship, takes it as a sign of attack, and now it's up to Hal Jordan to escape with this newfound knowledge and find Black Hand. And he does, and we also get a little indication of the Gray Agents at the end of this book. And we do get to see a little bit more of Black Hand, and we know where he's going. The book actually opens up with Black Hand, and we find out exactly where Black Hand is headed. Hopefully Hal Jordan will be able to catch him before he makes it to his destination. But really good stuff in this book. I enjoyed it a lot. Relic coming back, though, especially after seeing a young Relic in the Green Lantern Corps book. I really don't want to see too much Relic right now. I'd rather we move away from Relic for a time. And Relic does vow to come back at the end of this issue after Hal escapes, that it won't be the last time Hal sees Relic. I guess we'll have to wait and see in future story arcs. But right now there's a lot going on in the DC universe, and with Green Lantern's part in the DC universe. We're now in Marvel, and it's going to be a very Marvel-esque review. Future Imperfects issue number 4, Maestro, Thunderbolt, Ross, and two of Ross's men, or two of Ross's men and the one that betrayed Maestro, end up leaving Dystopia and they go into Helheim because they're looking for I can't pronounce this guy's name for the life of me. They're looking for Ulick, who could take him to somebody who can lead them to the destroyer armor. After a brief bar fight, they find somebody linked to Thor's past who is able to tell them where Ulick is. They go there. We get a little bit more into the fact that Ross knows that Maestro is probably going to fail because he believes that Doom is God. And not even the destroyer armor is going to stop him. And Maestro, who is trying to actually be friendly with Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt's like, no, dude, to be honest, I'm only doing this to get you out of Dystopia and to hopefully watch Doom kill you. They find Ulick, and again, more action, and then Ulick leads them to the one person who could lead them to the destroyer armor, and I feel like I should know who this person is. Do you?
Looks like, is that Charles Xavier?
That or another Bruce Banner, maybe, because Maestro looks very...
It looks like Charles Xavier. I mean, look like real closely. If you look real closely, it does look like Charles.
I don't know who it is, but I guess we'll find out in the last issue. If anybody has any idea who that person was on the last page, please feel free to let me know. This was the one read that kind of... now, nothing really disappointed me this week. Let's put it that way. I liked everything I read. But this was lower on the pile. And also lower on the pile this week goes to Infinity Gauntlet issue 3. Thanos in the last issue decided that he wasn't going to do what he's been doing over and over again. He killed the young Thanos, and future Thanos actually traveled back in time. Now, future Thanos changed a few things that were in the first 2 issues. So everything you saw in the first 2 issues has been altered slightly. Instead of just seeing Thanos in the shadows, Thanos interfered and brought them some food when they were, and Drax the Destroyer is chasing after Thanos. He brings them food. There's a lot of internal dialogue where he's saying, one day I'm going to crush you, I'm going to destroy you, your family's weak, once I get what I need I'm going to crush you. It's just like over and over, basically the same thing. So, first he showed up in the woods to give them some food, then he showed up again to save the father and little girl, who we saw they outran the bugs the first time. This time, Thanos kind of steps in to kind of show some good faith. So he's trying to trick them into believing he's a good guy just to get his Infinity Gauntlet back. We then jump into the present again, which now Thanos is in the mix. So the whole beginning of the book sets you up to now Thanos threw himself in the middle of it. So where the last book left off with the family finding the gauntlet alone, now Thanos is there with them. And this book beginning basically explains why he interfered with the past. We find out Star-Lord has the Infinity Gem. The family chases after Star-Lord and gets the Infinity Gem back. Little bit of action with the bugs happen, but very little. Gamora and Star-Lord join them because they want to put an end to the bugs once and for all. They find Thanos kind of weasels his way in with the older sister, because I think that's the one that actually survived in the future. We find another Infinity Gem, and guess what? It's connected to Groot.
Groot.
And it basically just ends with Thanos' internal dialogue saying, the only thing you need to be ready for is death once you finish your gauntlet. And to be honest, there's only 2 more Infinity Gems left until the gauntlet is complete. So Thanos is scheming. The gauntlet is slowly becoming complete. And I don't know, personally, I don't like that the grandfather's dead, even though he's now on the cover for some weird reason. I guess they did that because they had to rewind time for a little bit, but I don't know. Again, one of my lower 2 books for Marvel this week. It was an okay read. I enjoyed it, but nothing really jumped out at me. The in-between book, between the books I really enjoyed and the lower pile books, has to go to Spider Island issue number 2. And it's not to the Mayday Parker story, which was interesting. It introduced a character that psychically was messing with some of the Avengers, and then eventually messed with Mayday Parker's mind, where she's now seeing Morlun again, and she attacks Future or Colossus, oh not Colossus, Juggernaut, or the son of Juggernaut, or whatever. I don't know who it is. Because she believes it's Morlun. Interesting backstory, interesting story. It felt a little shorter this time, quick to the point, not as capturing as the first part, in my opinion. However, Spider Island, the Avengers from the last issue that were converted into monsters, well, they broke away from the Queen's control and are able to fight against the Queen and the Spiders now. So Flash Thompson's mission basically was a success. They do free one other person. I'm not going to spoil who it is, but they free the person by using the Goblin Serum.
The Goblin Serum?
Yeah, the Goblin formula.
Oh, okay.
And now Flash Thompson gets the information about the AIM. Where was it? AIM's. The old AIM base, where there's something there that might be able to stop the Spiders once and for all. The person who was brought back with the Goblin Serum actually does become sort of a goblin. Sort of. The Avengers attack, or provide a distraction while Flash and Vision break in. Save one other person whom I'm not spoiling either, but kind of it's not... You could kind of see who it is by the cover, and you can see who the other person is too if you really look closely at the cover. But we find something else out at the very end of this issue. Something important that Vision feels, even setting an alarm off, it's worth it. So they get the person they need to fight the serum, but they also find out, or they find something else. And this is what definitely made the book a whole lot better, the last page.
Wow.
So it's to be continued in 2 weeks. This is one of those stories that is an every other week story, but definitely has potential. This definitely picked up by the towards the end of the issue. Definitely really interesting stuff going on with Spider Island. It definitely picked up from the last issue, which kind of was okay. This time, I feel like it's definitely something more, and with that last page, I'm definitely invested in finding out what's going to happen next, and if Spider Island truly will be cured before Battle World is over. Now for me and you. Michael is officially joining us now with his 4 books and my top 4 books. So, Michael.
Yeah. An iffy book of Darth Vader issue number 8.
Really? Iffy?
Like, it really didn't focus... Like, it did on Darth Vader a little bit, but towards... like middle-ish to the end. Like it first talks about if I could find her name now, because I had it in my head, like the one that's doing like all the money and everything, like she's doing like this mission to try to get rich, like she has like B that's on her side, and why do I forget?
Well, just keep going.
Yeah, well, basically, she's doing that to get some money by, you know, all these missions and everything. And when she gets that... Wait, I think I found her name. Afra is her name. And... you know, and she's just saying...
she's working with Darkseid's agents, it looks like.
Darth Vader's agents.
Why is it Darth?
Yeah, Darth Vader's agents. And, you know, that she doesn't want to share the money, you know, like she keeps it for herself because that's the way she is. So he talks... She has a little talk with Darth Vader about, you know, the Death Star and how things will change in a matter of time. And the General talks about the... you know, new Death Star that's going to be created, and doesn't put General Carbon in charge, only the Efrati twins? Like, how you say this? Astari twins?
Yeah.
as their responsibilities, and leaves Darth Vader and Taggy disqualified from all this. But he has another mission aside for Darth Vader. That was said by the Grand General. And Inspector Thanos, I should actually show some artwork, by the way. Forgot to show that, I apologize. Which was really good. Who was actually the replacement of Darth Vader for Anna. And he's the assistant of all things. And the way Darth Vader sees this person, well, there's something really, iffy he sees about him. And there's a lot of other stuff that happened. It was kind of a little bit all over the place, but it was an iffy read, in my opinion. But I thought it was pretty good.
Okay, the lower tier, this is the last middle book, but really now we're getting into my top, or my favorite books of the week. Guardians of Knowhere, issue number 2. This book, we don't get much of a progression in the present. We go back in time, and we get the origin of the person who is chasing after Drax and why he's chasing after Drax. We start off, I forget how many years, a year in the past. And this guy is showing, one of the Yotat is showing this other, like, crime lord, Giogo. He found the collector's armament, and he's trying to get an in with this guy so he can be a part of his group, because he believes that this guy one day is going to take over or own Knowhere. Things don't go the way Yotat expected. However, something happens to him. And then we go to a few months ago where Rocket and Drax are in the same bar talking about what they always, well, at least Rocket is. But Yotat goes to Giogo and basically exacts his revenge. And then he says he's going to take over Knowhere, which Rocket is like, I don't think so. And Drax actually steps in to protect and save Rocket. And he leaves Yotat to, spoiler alert here, the Nova Corps, who basically take him to jail, or somewhere to jail. We then jump back to the present for like 2 pages where the Guardians are basically easily put down by Yotat, and the only one left standing is Rocket again.
Or Rocket Raccoon.
That is the very abbreviated. There's a lot of dialogue in here. A nice amount of dialogue. I love Rocket's characterization here. Gamora, who has the cosmic powers, is I'm wondering how they're going to stop this guy Yotat before this series is end. Really interesting. Again, though, it's really it really sets up the book. So we didn't get much in progression. We got to see the Guardians get their butts handed to them in 3 pages. We got a background on who the guy is, which actually is good. So at least we know who he is now and how he got to being this big buff guy and has a beef with Drax. And yeah, so all in all, it was a pretty good issue. I'm looking forward to moving forward in the coming issues.
Alright. Bauer Red Skull issue number 2. The Adventures of Red Skull helping Magneto. And I'm going to say this right now, I'm probably going to give this another issue just to see, because I figured I knew what this was going to be about. Basically, as Red Skull and Magneto are trying to take out demons or zombies or something like that, like Red Skull keeps Magneto captive, but as a shelter, he has like this secret underground in the Sentinel, which I thought was cool. And the artwork was a little bit sketchy as well. So he's talking about how the Deadlands are changing people, and how he was the survivor of all this. But and he also has ways of how to remove Magneto's collar. Because remember the last issue, when Tombstone has their collars, they can't use their powers. Their powers are disabled. So he says, I know how to disable your collar. If you work for me, I will do that for you. And of course, you know, Magneto, like, he's just saying, you know, that this is a trick and everything, but he knows how to remove it. So Red Skull is just taking him a long ways to talk with Lord Analysis about how they could use Magneto for a shield of some type in that sort of way. And basically Red Skull tricked him into saying instead of knowing how to take off the collar, it was something else. And when he takes off the collar, Magneto releases his powers, and then, you know, just Red Skull is saying that, you know, Battle World will be mine and Doom's World will end with Magneto by our side. So I kind of see where this is going. And if this is going to be a book where I know that Magneto's going to betray Red Skull in the end anyway, knowing what all this is, and if it doesn't make progression next issue, I'm going to have to drop it. Because I could tell what's going to happen. It says it right there.
Civil War issue number 2. This book really is getting good. Now, Miriam was, I forget how to say her last name. She was assassinated in the last issue, and it was an attempt on Steve Rogers. But Tony Stark didn't set it up, and Steve Rogers didn't set it up. So finally, I like this issue. So Tony sends a drone in to try to trace the path of the person who attempted the assassination, and unfortunately Storm gets in the way of that. And see, he's not supposed to send a drone or into the blue because they take it as an act of aggression. So Storm destroys the probe and brings it to Steel Town. We find out more about Steel Town later, but anyway, Stark realizes that before the drone was destroyed, the person who attempted the assassination went to Steel Town. And now Steve is wondering why was there a drone here? And Pete wants to move forward with the final act so that Steve can win the war once and for all, because he just wants peace finally. He says, you know, this war needs to end and we need to end it our way. Finally, we find out what the machine, or what what's the word I'm looking for, the winning point for Steve's side possibly is. However, it can only be used once unless they get more supplies, and the supplies are in the iron. So Spider-Man or Pete volunteers to go there with a team, and Stark wants to know who the assassinator was, and the assassinator's in Steel Town, so he sends Jen Waller. So while Pete from the blue is infiltrating the iron, She-Hulk is infiltrating the blue to try to get information on the assassinator, and that's where it's left off. I love the cover for the next issue because you got Pete and his crew fighting in the iron to get the resources they need to make the well, I don't want to give away what it is, but for them to put their plan into motion, because the war has to end. People in the iron, the people in the blue are suffering because their resources are getting severely depleted by the iron. But Tony Stark actually makes a discovery in this book, what I discovered in the first book, that somebody is purposely making sure this war continues going on. And at every twist and turn, somebody's been purposely sabotaging any hope of peace.
Wow.
So Tony Stark knows something's going on, and Steve doesn't really want to go too far either. So I can't wait to see how this ends. There are very few books I could say I can't wait to see how it ends, but things are going really interesting, and you have time for that one.
All right.
Really interesting in Civil War. I'm really enjoying it.
And now we're going to talk about Age of Apocalypse issue number 2, where Doug Ramsey, I think his name is, on this book, if I remember it right. And it's basically Wolverine, or the Magneto team, against the people who are keeping, Domino's team, who's keeping, you know, Doug Ramsey. Yeah, Doug Ramsey, you know, who gets to keep him and everything because of his powers and whatnot. You know, so the fight scene was really amazing, I will say that, along with the artwork. I really enjoyed the artwork in this book. And you know, as the fight continued, it was just talking about you know, about Doug's character and how Rogue was a traitor to Magneto's team, and you know, Cyclops gets the lower hand and gets a little bit defeated, but you know, they're saying like there's a verge of extinction that's happening, and the apocalypse will come and bury all of us, and when it does, the mutants are going to die from this, because the apocalypse that's coming, if that makes any sense. So as the story continues, I do want to leave some stuff out because I want you guys to definitely read the book, but Magneto does have Douglas and shows him the lair and everything, and what he shows him is something really interesting, along with a certain character that appeared in the end that is going to really pack a punch and everything. So, really great book. I'm gonna get the next issue to see how this will be, because Doug Ramsey was an X Factor team originally, and it's going pretty well. So we'll see how more of the apocalypse will happen.
Alright guys, give us just 2 seconds and we will conclude with the last couple of books for this week's comic review. Alright, and we're back, and now we've got Ultimate End issue 4 or 5. Okay guys, this is it. The penultimate issue. What sets the Ultimate Universe against the 616? And actually, we do get to see Valeria here talking to Doom, explaining that they've discovered that the 616 is trying to separate from the Ultimate Universe, that they're trying to figure a way to separate their domains again, and it's going to cause a problem. And she's like, what are we going to do? And Doom just says, my will be done. In other words, God's will be done. And she's like, but shouldn't we do something? And he's like, no, we'll do when I'm ready. But while all this is going on, we find out that the Punisher has kind of lost his mind a little bit, the Ultimate Punisher.
No.
And he tries to kill everybody.
Well, the Punisher is meant to do that.
You've got the 616 Avengers and the Ultimate Avengers who go to, not the Baxter Buildings, the Stark Towers, to get Bruce Banner back. And they're met with a lot of armor. Because Iron Man feels, you know, Bruce, that basically he doesn't have to answer to Nick Fury. What was it? I'm not gonna fight you. You're my friends, kind of. And these other guys, well, I'll fight for you if you're. I'll fight you if you're standing in my way, but I would rather not. And then he tells. He basically tells Nick Fury. After a great personal introspect, I decided that this Fury, basically the Ultimate Nick Fury, has no authority over me or Bruce Banner. And Nick Fury does not act too happily towards that. And basically he tells Nick Fury to stick it. And that's really the end of it. And then they also, the Starks enlist Cloak Dagger from the Ultimate Universe, and I forgot Bombshell. Was it Bombshell? Was that her name?
I think Bombshell's her
I believe so. But anyway, we find out that the Ultimate Tony Stark wants to go to Doom with their findings. That it's the better idea to go to Doom with it. While 616 Tony, at least to my knowledge, says we absolutely do not. We just do this on our own. And Ultimate Tony Stark says, you're going to get us killed. And... oh, what one was it? Oh, no. The 616 Tony, see, it's very confusing because the artwork, it all looks like... you can't tell which Tony it is at first. 616 Tony says, you're going to get us all killed. Ultimate Universe Tony says, you're not a god. And this is me talking. Basically saying it's yourself. And that's where the war erupts. We get to see Old Man Logan show up. So Old Man Logan, apparently his series will bring him to the 616/Ultimate Universe at some point. But we do find one more thing out. get that page where the first issue started up. And then we find out that Valeria says, what if there's one person's going to die at Punisher's hands, by the way, but Valeria says, what if we don't see something coming, something that changes everything, and we get that last page where one character might change everything. But we all know that this is the end of the Ultimate Universe, so Ultimate Universe is going to end. But the question is, what's going to happen between the two worlds? The conclusion comes next month.
Okay, Battle World Siege issue number 2. And for this comic book, I mean, just like issue number 1, it does show about you know, Abigail's journal that talks about basically dealing with you know, the fights, and along with teaming up with Alyana Rasputin as well, along with Colossus that she teamed up with. And you know, she's just trying to keep the S.H.I.E.L.D. team together. And you know, what she's doing is she's just like really she's just like really concerned about what's going on, and she just wants to kill what's his name? I think Kang, or what's his name? Yeah, Kang. Yeah.
I love how the books that are connected to the S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Zombielands, they all kind of connect in one way. You've got Bloodstone stuck in the Dead Zone. You got them who are talking about being in the S.H.I.E.L.D. right now and it failing. You've got Ultron versus Marvel Zombies, which is basically the zombies' point of view with the Ultron robots. It's really good.
Yeah, and she thinks that execution's the right thing, but Summers is saying no. Like, he just knocks her out for a few minutes and just tries to show Abigail that that's not the right way of going, but the S.H.I.E.L.D. needs her as an important person that she is to the S.H.I.E.L.D. And then afterwards, we see Nick Fury and her have a little bit of a talk where, you know, he's trying to keep her strong, like saying, you know, the S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, is a wall, and if you have a backup against it, you have to make sure your friends are with you as well. And if all else fails, you know, ask the robots. So they go to the robots to ask, you know, about all this and the plan, but you know, like, there's basically like lots of alerts that happen afterwards with the outbreak that happens, and Lady Catherine makes an appearance. In
Not a fan of the artwork.
Well, a little bit okay. I mean, it's kind of a little but it's sort of okay. And basically, after that, we get a little bit of a big thing that happens in the end. Here's a spoiler. A big, gigantic monster saying, "I am the Fury and I kill superheroes." And that's to be continued in the next issue. So, things don't look too well along with that. I mean that's the short of it. I don't want to give too much away for Siege, because it's turning out really good, this book. So I would definitely say it was a good read, at least for that.
Last book for the week, and it's Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, issue number 3. Spidey goes to the Tinker to get more inhibitors, but now he goes as Spider-Man, basically, because the world knows Spider-Man's back. And we find out that, it starts with an R. Why did I lose the name? Regent, was it? Regent, I was right. Regent finds Spider-Man's powers the most important. There's something he needs to do with them, so it's the most, he must get Spider-Man. So Tinker actually turns on Spider-Man and alerts the Sinister Six, and the Sinister Six attacks Spider-Man, starting with Doc Ock. And let's just say the fight between Spidey and Doc Ock, Spider-Man isn't the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man they used to know. enough said. But we find out that the Shield is taking interest in Spider-Man as well. That Bobby actually wants to bring Spider-Man into the Shield, and he might be the one to stop Regent once and for all. And we all know that's going to happen in the series anyway. Craven makes a discovery about Spidey that he showed up at that school, so obviously he has a child or an offspring in that school. So there's a mandatory check of all the children, and I'm skipping a lot of dialogue, but you got Mary Jane explaining to the daughter about Pete when, you know, he first started as Spider-Man, how he was a hero, how he really never lost, but then she remembers all the losses that he had even though he never lost. Anyway, they go to the school the next day for the screening, and thank God the inhibitors work. However, there's a mutant child that's discovered. So Pete makes the decision that he has to save this kid. But Mysterio figures, hey, if he's here, one family's missing a father. So he goes looking to see which family is missing their dad. And it turns out that two people overhear Mary Jane that are agents of Regent. And let's just say the ending, you've got Annie and MJ being pulled away by guards, and you got Pete fighting 3 of the Sinister Six. The cover, however, of the next issue, let's see if maybe Pete's daughter might take off her inhibitor bracelet and start kicking some butt with her spider powers. The dialogue in this book is excellent. This feels like the Spider-Man I read before One More Day, and I'm loving it. And it's unfortunate that after everything's said and done with Secret Wars and Battle World, that we're not going to be returning right away, at least, to Pete and Mary Jane being together. Pete is going to Japan. However, this could be just a story arc, and then we'll see if Pete comes back to maybe New York, and there will be Mary Jane. They did say, in all honesty, that Pete was going to remember certain things about Battle Worlds. Maybe this will be one of them. I hope this is one of them, because they need to bring Mary Jane back into Peter Parker's life. And not the stupid Mary Jane, either. This Mary Jane. You don't need the kid, but we need this Mary Jane for Pete. We need Peter Parker and Mary Jane back together. That's all I can say for that. Because they are a really... MJ really completes Pete. And right now, Pete's going in a million different ways, and Parker Industries, just let's be honest here, I'm just not interested in it. We'll have to wait and see where things go with the main Marvel Universe after Secret Wars. But this was a really great read. If you want to read a really good Spider-Man book, I would highly recommend checking out all 3 issues of Renew Your Vows right now, because it's excellent. And with that, that's it for this review, guys. Any questions, comments, recommendations, feel free to leave them in the comments below. As the weeks go on, like I said, the Dark Avenger review will be slowly on its way out. World's Finest reviews will start popping up. Once the indie review hits 100, all this entire channel should be in full swing for the World's Finest review, and then the show like this will completely be a comic book recap, where we'll be recapping all the books that we review in 1 week instead. So we still will be recording here for one video, but it'll be a lot shorter, and it'll be more of a recap of everything we've read. So just bear with us for these next couple of weeks at least with the 40-minute long episodes, and hopefully slowly we'll be moving out of this and going into the solo and group reviews. Look forward to the first group review sometime at the beginning of this week, where I'll be reviewing the 3 Gods and Justice League God and Monster books. As I said, we're going to slowly work our way into it, so little things here and there will start popping up this month. Next month, a lot of new series are going to start up. Brant and I already did an episode of the Chris and Brant Show. I've got a couple ideas for a couple of other things here and there. Podcasts are going to be starting in September. It's just going to be a lot of really great stuff, and I hope you guys are ready, because we are ready, willing, and excited for it all. So till next time, everybody, don't forget to check out comicfrontline.com, where all our comic book news, reviews, and a whole lot more happens alongside Zone4Podcast.com. Together, we are your #1 source for comic-related news, reviews, and a whole bunch more. And also, we've got Frontline Gaming Zone, where we are doing that.
You forgot.
I would like to not sound like a robot for a couple episodes. Frontline Gaming Zone, where we do our casual gaming, our walkthroughs. Walkthroughs will commence at some point. Just bear with us for a little bit longer. We're in the market for a capture card. If we get it, we'll be able to do things without having to worry about a camera. Just literally have to record right off the game system. But that'll be your source for our gaming stuff. And until next time, everybody, stay tuned to this channel for more really awesome goodness in all different shapes and forms. Until then, take care, keep reading, keep collecting, and we'll see you guys really soon in the next video.
Later, everybody.